We'll call to order the Winfield Sewer Board meeting with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mike.
Mr. Zach Ever.
Present.
Mr. Mark Walknick.
Here.
Mr. Corey Liss.
Here.
Mr. Nick Bellar.
Here.
Mr. Tony Clark.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Lynn.
Here.
Mr. Austin is not present. Mr. Sean Finney.
Here.
And I am Michael Lambert. Good evening.
Thank you, Michael. First up, we have public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none, we're going to move on to citizens requesting placement on the agenda not related to agenda items. Seeing none, we're going to move on to minutes to be approved.
A motion, we approve the minutes of the March 24th sewer board meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Mark and a second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Staff reports. Jeremy?
Good evening. Staff report tonight, treatment plant's running well, like the last several months since the expansion was completed. The project is essentially complete. Punch list items, Tony and I have confirmed that are all completed on our list that we gave the contractor. What you see tonight on a couple agenda items is kind of some cleanup items that I kind of mentioned in the past. I think the town has kind of taken advantage of the contractor being there to kind of do some additional items like painting and some other things at the plant that we felt were necessary. And we kind of just took advantage of kind of like having a contractor there to do those things. So it's kind of we're going several months back. I think that's just kind of a result of not having some meetings over the holiday months and then kind of just getting all the information. So that's why you're seeing it now, but I can certainly go through those items, but it's listed in the letter for the pay request and the change orders. Like I said, capacity for the treatment plant remains the same. We have.
I guess as far as, I guess that'll be another item to go over those, right? So-
Yeah, correct. I'm just mentioning it.
Sorry.
The wastewater treatment plant O&M manual that I had briefly kind of summarized that one evening is now finally live for town use. That's accessible through a link. So it's not a public link. Not everyone can just go on there and obviously see the document and the elements of the treatment plant, but it's officially live. So the way it's done, it's hosted on Town of Winfield's system, and anyone's staff and operators can have access to it as needed. So, and I'm going to be every month kind of making updates to it as we go. For example, when we get the monitoring records from the operator and that gets submitted to IDEM, I'm going to be uploading that information up to the O&M manual. So now we can kind of keep going forward and kind of creating that history, and anything that we have like repairs and things like that I've mentioned, it'll be kind of a nice way to kind of just log everything. And we have this nice asset and utility, and this tool will be able to kind of just keep up with every year as we go forward.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And on the power study,
Yes.
is that complete? Where does that stand?
It's complete as far as we could get through the utility. We tried really hard to kind of delve into, talking to the technicians, and we just couldn't get where we needed to. So we have things in place for, if there was kind of that situation again, that we've kind of put another layer of protection of some fuses and such ahead of like the sensitive equipment and the disconnects. But we're going to keep continuing to kind of study that. But from the standpoint of Wunderlich Malik and the electrical engineer who visited, they identified the issues. We couldn't get really a solid answer from NIPSCO, but I think as we kind of obviously are operating the plant, we'll just kind of continue with that.
So I guess I'd be interested in seeing their report.
Yes.
If you can share that.
I have that, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right, update on the treatment plant, that's it, right?
That's correct.
Nothing else?
Nothing
Okay.
else.
On to new business, consideration of change order number 8 and 9 for Hassey Construction.
This is a change orders that I've summarized and prepared that letter of recommendation for.
So is that just stuff, Jeremy, like the epoxy, is that what they weren't gonna do that to begin with, and because they
Yeah,
were
we didn't have
there?
it identified in the design at the time, and I think after the project was kind of 90% complete, you know, we talked among staff and, hey, this is something that we recommended, and they had the painters from the project, you know, just do some extra work.
Oh, fair enough. All right, thank you.
Yep.
You have any questions, Mark?
No, I don't have anything else.
Entertain a motion?
A motion, we approve the change orders 8 and 9 as presented by Jeremy, and in the order of $49,569.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mark and a second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval and recommendation of the town council for payment of pay application number 20.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment to Hassey Construction amount of $49,569 for pay application number 20.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Corey and a second by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
So there was a change order 10 yet, right, Jeremy, yet? So
Yeah, there's
what's the
one
deal
that's
with,
remaining that I'm still.
what's the deal with that one?
That was some additional time to work on secondary clarifier 2. And they just gave me kind of a lump sum kind of cost, and I want to go through and make sure all the time is added up correctly. So that's additional work that we have them do as from the clarifier repairs.
Okay, so technically a repair then.
Yes.
So,
Repairs and slash adjustments.
okay,
Because it's an existing structure, actually clarifier 1. So, yeah, there's just some adjustments that needed to be done.
it was necessary for the project.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just wondered if that was where the cost would belong with the project, or if it really was indeed a repair that they.
Yeah,
just-
some additional things that we said, hey, now that we have the equipment there, the contractors and laborers there, it would make sense for us to do it at this time,
Okay,
essentially with the equipment available.
all right. And that's the last change.
That's the
order
last
out
one,
there?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, consideration of engineering service proposal from Lintech.
Last meeting I mentioned the need to study and kind of improve the Meadows lift station. Meadows lift station is the largest lift station in terms of flow. That really, the service area is everything obviously north of 109th, and as the town looks to expand to the west, really it becomes the main kind of sensitive conduit in the sanitary sewer system, pumping that wastewater flow to the treatment plant. In the past, we've just obviously known that this is a very important lift station in town. And so looking at that, we kind of prepared kind of a budget of some of the improvements that we would recommend to make sure that this lift station can serve obviously the existing flow, but all the future flow as the town continues to grow. So essentially what we're looking to do is maybe construct a new wet well and valve vault adjacent to the existing, because obviously the lift station needs to continue to operate, and then work that in tandem and kind of create a better pumping efficiency. Right now, the lift station only has 2 really large pumps, so when they kick on, you're pumping the full flow, no matter if it's 8 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night. So this will allow really the town to kind of operate more efficiently when you are dealing with a lot more flow that lift station is going to handle. Also, we're going to design a lift station building similar to 117th and the Gibson Street lift stations, kind of like these regional lift stations. So this is really just a major kind of element, like I mentioned.
So this, everything you were looking at here, that's in addition to what exists, that what exists will remain, you're just putting in some smaller pumps now?
We're going to look at the pumping sequence. You know, it's part of the design to kind of come up with the most efficient scenario. We're going to be removing some of the old kind of like clamshell infrastructure there that it's very difficult for the operator kind of to access and work in. So we're going to basically bring everything up above ground and be more, you know, really kind of moving forward with the way the design of the other newer lift stations are in town.
So you would abandon what's there?
We're going to abandon some of the structures and provide new controls, new monitoring system. The wet well and some of the other pumping, the pumps might remain, but that's why we want to kind of study this as part of like kind of a design phase, and then come back with recommendations of really what we should do with that lift station. I kind of obviously penciled out a estimated budget for the project too. So this is kind of a more longer term planning. This is not going to happen like the next couple of months, but it's something that's good for us to kind of, now that we have time, usually we're always in a rush to kind of, okay, we got this developer that's already approved, now what do we do? But now we kind of can kind of flip that a little bit since we have the capacity. Now we can really take some time to study the conveyance and infrastructure.
Okay, so your proposal then for the 85,000, that's just a kind of study?
So that's the design, permitting. Once we get to like financing or like we have the budget for this, then we would bid the project out, and then also construction services. So this may take, you know, a certain period of time depending on how fast the project does actually move. So that's my services throughout the whole project.
Yeah. Okay, I know we didn't request it, but I guess the thing to consider, we talked about boardwalk also and needing to do something over there. I guess it'd be good to get everything all out on the table, right, before we start, in my opinion, before we start improving any of it. You know, what's the big picture, right? So,
Yes, and I think we have a picture of Boardwalk. I think that one's a little bit more tied towards the Grand Ridge kind of construction timing. And that one is going to be, and we can revisit it as well, but it's kind of a separate subject, but essentially we're going to try to abandon the Boardwalk lift station and connect that section of town through a gravity sewer through Grand Ridge. So that's a smaller element that, as the town sewer engineer, we would handle as obviously kind of like throughout the year type of work. This is being kind of a more major, I guess, project.
right.
So I think that's why we did it this way in terms of like a formal proposal. If it's something like Boardwalk, that maybe, you know, we would say, hey, it might take $8,000 for this work, and would be more, I mean, it would still come to the sewer board, but this one being a major project is kind of the one I want to get on the radar first, because it's obviously more costly than a gravity sewer. So, but I understand what you're getting at, and I think these things are kind of going to come up throughout the year as, you know, the town kind of progresses.
Right. I mean, we talked about a SCADA system also, and
We did.
You know, so
So in my mind, this is the priority.
okay.
On all
But
those.
so that's in my mind. That's what we haven't done is
Kind of list
prioritize
out things.
what we need and what kind of timing we're talking
Yeah.
about, right? 'Cause
Fair enough.
I know you're talking about this for a future need. So what's the build out look like? What is the real need? When does the real need happen? I guess.
I think that's kind of tied to some of the items, you know, that happen at Plan Commission and the you know, Town Council. So that's why this is where we fit in, right? As the sewer board.
Yeah.
It's an important element, because you do have developers that have proposals, have concept plans. So we're kind of getting ahead of, you know, that as well.
Right.
In terms of like, hey, they're looking to go towards, you know, west. how do we do this? So that question has been asked of, by developers, so this is kind of getting
Getting ahead
getting
of
to the
it,
point.
I get it.
Yeah,
Again, it'd be good to even, again, as a sewer board, we've not looked again at development and things like that, just to get see what's on the horizon, so.
right.
We really hadn't had much discussion around that, it's been a couple of years, like before we started the expansion, right? So,
Mark, we've been kind of talking about that internally. The sewer master plan, it's about 10 years old now. It's probably a good time to your point, update the plan.
I'd
So-
rather see us kind of put a little time into that.
I think so. I agree with
Jumping
you.
out of stuff.
We've been talking about that internally as we look at our sewer atlases and trying to piece together things from of a period of 10 years. So it is time to start looking at that, and I imagine we'll have something for the sewer board to consider here
Yeah, I think
in the next couple months, realistically.
that seems reasonable,
Mhm.
yes.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we put on hold the proposal from Wintech in terms of metal lift station improvements until we've had another look at our, future plans for the system.
Second.
Motion by Mark and second by Corey. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. On to treasurer's report, Mike.
Thank you. Mr. President, point of order, just for the record, Mr. Dortmeyer, he arrived in the stead for Mr. Austin back when we were talking about the minutes from our last meeting. So just for the record, Mr. Dortmeyer, he's been present for all pertinent conversation.
Thank you.
As far as claims, for this month, in your packets, for your review, consideration, and approval, there's a total of 43 claims for the grand total amount of $115,185.38.
I guess I noted in there that the utility services is, one of the line items marked as boardwalk project sewer pump stations. Was there some work we're directing them to do in regards to a project?
Yeah, they had a contractor look at the electrical side of the control panel, remember that had the issue? And that's still ongoing, but they had put together, kind of a temporary repair.
Okay, so it's really more, not necessarily a project, it's.
Correct.
It's correcting issues out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Making it functional.
I guess I'll ask the question, last item on there for access system integrators. Looks like install new network racks and hardware and cameras for the clerk treasurer's office. That is a capital improvement, correct?
Yes, that's how it's being categorized.
So those should be approved in board meetings. I don't remember having any discussion on that again. This is like the third item that's come up with there. There's been no discussion at this meeting. I really don't think, it's not right. Again, I don't know where the approval's coming from. So I'm gonna motion that we approve the claims in the order of $105,854.19 and exclude payment for the sewer capital portion for $9,331.20.
To your question as to where the approval came, that approval came from the town council when the renovations were completed. Because the clerk's office does all the billing for the sewer department, that expense was cut in half.
But then that should come to this board also, right?
Yep,
if I'm accountable for that money, it needs to come to this board.
yep, I agree with
So
that.
to me, it ought to be an agenda item for another meeting, asking for that approval, not just show up in the claims.
Yeah, I agree with that, so
Okay.
we can get that, all the documentation for that, and,
Sure, we
Have
can
it ordered.
get, we can have all that put together.
okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. All right, I have a motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Corey. What was the final amount, Mark?
$105,854.19.
Thank you. And any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Billing adjustments, Mike?
In your packets, we have 6 pages of adjustments totaling the amount of $3,256.77.
A motion, we approve the billing adjustments in the order of $3,256.77 dated April 28th, 2026.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mark and a second by Corey. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 26th at 6 PM. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Corey and Mark.